Here, so I got my piece of 3/16" metal here. I'll cut out. You can see how it fits, and if it fits all right, I'm gonna start welding. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good fit. I think I need to tack it and then fit it as I go. So fire up the generator and go for it. There you have it all fit in place. Pretty happy with it. Just gotta weld it up, and then I'll fill in the ends down here after that. Just finished welding the plate in there, and it welded really nice. I'm really happy with how it welded. I was a little nervous about the rest of the linear, if the metal was gonna be thick enough to weld, and it turned out pretty good. Here, I'll give you guys a look. You can see that okay. Maybe the sun's blocking out a little bit, but got the plate in there, and then I took a grinder and cleaned up the bead some, blended it in. I'm not too worried about the bead on the bottom side because that's where there's going to be an empty space, but I wanted it to be flush with the outside so it could still rotate with the saddle on there, and I think it turned out pretty good. So what I got to do now is fill in these gaps on the end. I'll get you propped up here and I'll show you what I'm gonna do. So put some cardstock down. I use a ton of this in the shop. I'm always finding excuses to use it. I was thinking I'd just set it right in there. Gonna mark the edges of where I want the metal to end. And then I don't even think I'll draw it. I think I'll just kind of crease it on the metal there. My hands are dirty enough that it leaves a nice mark. Alright, and there's our shape. So that's the line that's showing up the most is going to be on the outside of the metal. I think I want to recess it a little bit, and then that'll give me a nice corner to fill when I weld. So I'll just cut this a little smaller than the line shows there. And now I just got to do the other side, and I'll mark this as the north one, so I remember which one it is. Just got to do the other side and cut them out and weld them up. Planting beans today, green beans, snap beans. It's the first planting of the year. We divide our total bean acreage up into about 10 different plantings, each of them about 20 acres in size. That's to help out with harvesting and getting it processed at the end of the year. Our beans go at the end of the year when we harvest them to a local co-op cannery called Norpac, and then it's sold under the St. Am label. It's a pretty neat company, and we've been growing for them for I think about 40 years now, so really long time. I have a good relationship with them. The planter's ready to go. I just got to load it up with seed and then start planting. Okay, seeds are good to go. Now I just got to fill up the liquid fertilizer tanks. Get the big bulk bin on the truck here, and we'll pump it into the planter. It's an old John Deere planter, 7200, and it's getting old, but it still works pretty good, so we keep using it. We pull it with a John Deere 4020, which happens to be my favorite tractor. We have 4 of them on the farm, and they're also getting really old, but they just run and run. We use them every day. Okay, I'm going to plant a little ways and then get off and check the seed depth and check the seed population and make sure each row is planting and everything's working all right. Check the seed depth now. What I like to do is dig up the row until you find a seed that you haven't moved, and then you can tell how deep it is. Let's see if I can do that now. There's not a lot of moisture in the ground, so we're hoping to go a little bit deeper, trying to get the seed down in the moisture. good. Check all the rows, make sure they're all putting up seed. That's probably on about as deep as you'd want to go, but for these conditions, I think that'll work all right. Now I want to check the seed population. What I do is I take my tape measure off 3 feet, and then dig up all the seeds for that 3 feet, and that gives me, I can do some math after that and figure out how many seeds per acre we're putting on. What we're shooting for is 180,000 seeds per acre. So let me dig them up and see how we're doing. Now that I have the beans planted, you gotta put some herbicide on the ground using our Honda 4-wheeler and sprayer. It works good because it's not much weight, so it just floats over the ground nice. We're putting on a pre-emergent herbicide, which means that it stops the seeds from germinating, the weed seeds that are in the bed. It's not going to do anything on weeds that are already growing, but there aren't any weeds growing because the field's just been worked. And the bean seed still grows because it's deep enough that the chemical doesn't get washed down to it. It's just underneath it. And then once the bean sprouts and grows, it grows up through the chemical just fine. So, here we go. Time for little arts and crafts. There's my little stencil. I brought a piece of metal. There. I'll just lay down there and put a Sharpie line around it, cut it out. Alright, I'm going to use the cutoff wheel. Cutoff wheels aren't the best for curves like this, but I think I can get pretty close to what I need out of it. Give it my best shot. Alright, there it is. Got my piece inserted there and all welded up, and I grinded it around the edges, took the bead off. Really happy with it. Man, it welded a lot better than I thought I was going to. The other side over here. A little more gnarly, but I think it still turned out pretty good. So I think the thing to do is hook the hose up and put water to it and see if there are any little pinholes or anything I missed. there's still a little bit of the corrugation on a couple spots, and it causes the weld to bubble just a little bit. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little tiny pinhole there I just saw. Not sure if it'd be a leak or not, but only one way to test it.
Here we are transplanting a radish. It's a hybrid radish that we grow for seed. There's a male variety and a female variety. This crop is a 6-to-2 ratio, which means there's 6 female plants for every 2 male plants. And the male plants are used to pollinate the female plants, and then once they're done pollinating, we take out the male plants, we mow them out, and then we only harvest the female. And this gives the seed from the female characteristics of both the male and the female varieties. This ratio works good because we can have our 2 different transplanters set up to do each varieties. So here we have the 2-row transplanter doing the 2 rows of males, and then also in the field we have our 6-row transplanter doing the 6 rows of females. But on some other crops or some different ratios, sometimes you have to mix the 2 different varieties on the same transplanter, and so you have to be really careful to keep the males and the females separate and to make sure that they're getting placed in the right place. There's our 6-row transplanter right there. A neighbor farm down the road, who we're good friends with, grows the plants for us. They start them in the greenhouse, and then we go over and pick them up and transplant them in the field and grow them from there and harvest them ourselves. That's Enrique there, grabbing a full tray to replace the empty one. This is Santos and Mario. They've all been on our farm for a long time and good guys. Alright, cue the time lapse. It's a small field, only 8 acres. It's a ton of work for small acreage like that, but it's been a pretty good crop for us, and they're really labor intensive. It takes a lot of inputs and a lot of work. Definitely exhausted at the end of the day of transplanting. Just a lot of shuffling along and walking in the soft dirt. And the guys sitting on the planter are definitely worn out too, watching that thing spin. So what they do is they grab the plugs from in front of them and drop them into the rotating tube one at a time. And the tractor goes as slow as it can, trying to give the people on the transplanter enough time to hit every tube. But even as it is, they can't keep up. So we have a couple people walk behind and fill in the gaps of the plants that they missed. And then the guys behind also grab full trays and replace the empty ones. But it takes a full crew of people, a lot of people to get this done.
Alright, just gonna run up to the road and turn the pump on and keep my fingers crossed. Just turn the pump on, driving down the road to check it for the first time. A little anxious, hope it all works out. Okay, here we are at the linear. I got a little nervous when I was walking up because I saw that water shooting, but I think it's just the hose. I think if I move the hose, it'll Maybe. Yeah, it's just leaking right around the hose there. See how the rest of it looks. Oh, it's a lot better. A couple little drops coming. Fix that up tomorrow. Kind of hard to tell if it's leaking out on my weld or if it's running off the top. But I think it's not too bad. Definitely a lot better than it was. Well, it's been a solid 14-hour day for me. I'm exhausted, and I think I'm gonna call that a victory. Gonna head on home now and drink a beer, or maybe two. So, thanks for watching.